All right. Welcome to the Off the Rails Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. And we're going to do a little Monday after the fact recap. We had a discussion yesterday with Brian about baseball. And, I always admire what that guy has to say. I would never tell him to his face how smart he is, but I'm going to tell you right now. You want to get a podcast, you want to listen to some rock and roll stuff you're not going to hear anywhere else, you listen to us on Thursday. We're going to go over the Trevor Bauer thing and Julio Urias. And I can absolutely tell you we are both on opposite sides of that fence. It's going to be rollicking. I don't know if that's going to be our last podcast together, but we will see. And unfortunately, Brother Scott, he had a medical procedure. He wasn't able to do our podcast. I always look forward to hearing and talking to him. There's such a good rapport with him, and he's such a smart guy. Usually we talk about NASCAR. We were going to recap the NCAA tournament. I kind of held back a little yesterday. Maybe we'll go a little deeper dive into it. But we're off and running. It's Tuesday, and it's Taco Tuesday. And I hope you're able to, here in Southern California, we're so lucky. We got literally the most delicious tacos this side of Mexico City, right? I think we have more people of Mexican heritage here than they do in actually Mexico City. But let's off and run. If you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Leave some comments. And the first thing we got in the news, and literally how the world has changed so much, is the biggest story this morning is USC star Juju Watkins sadly tore her ACL. Season's over as USC beat Mississippi State 96-59. It's been so long since women have actually had equal footing in the sports fiefdom. Typically big tennis event, maybe Serena Williams gets there. The other thing is the Winter Olympics. The biggest thing that goes on there is women's ice skating. It's literally one of the biggest events in the Olympic event, summer or winter, right? But for the most part, women don't get the proper due, and they work their butts off. And it is nice to see us creating an ecosystem, and I think that's one of the really good things about having sports media on so many different platforms is we get more eyes on things. Honestly, I can't wait till they really start televising the college baseball World Series. I mean, not just the games in Omaha getting to there, because it does seem like that. The college baseball tournament is probably the most exciting, it really is a thrilling thing. I would say if I was going to rank the upset possibilities, the thrill possibilities of tournaments, the NCAA baseball tournament would be number one. The Stanley Cup would be number two. And like I've talked with Brother Scott many times, you get a hot goalie in the Stanley Cup, you can win it all. St. Louis did that, more than a couple years ago, but, those things happen. I remember living in Los Angeles when the Ducks, had Jaguar. And for 2 straight years, he stood on his head and he carried him to the Cup finals. They won one. And they just had some bruising series. I do remember the New Jersey one. I mean, Jaguar was so good that when the Ducks would somehow score a goal, you pretty much knew it was over. I mean, it was kind of like when Pedro used to pitch for the Red Sox. Get us a run. That's it. Give me a run. That's all I need. And then I would say the NCAA tournament. If you can, catch that short I did about my radical NCAA proposal. I'm telling you, it's rock star. I know most things that come out of me you already know. They're rock star. But that is really something that they should just go to 112 teams. And the bottom 64 are going to be fighting for the 16, and then you add them to the 48. You get an extra weekend. You get an extra, 48 games. Right now we have 63. you're almost going to double the 1.1 billion to 2.5 billion. You know, I don't understand why they negotiated that contract in 2016. Stupid. But okay, let's talk about the NFL. Cam Ward threw it his pro day, solidifying the top pick. The Tennessee Titans GM was there. Will Levis, you better call Allied because you're going to be moving. I don't think you're long for that world, and they gave you 2 years. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Let's go to the NBA real quick. Lakers, my hated Lakers, 3-7 in their last 10 games. They lost to the Magic, 118-106. And you know the thing that really surprises me is how badly they're losing. They got wiped out the other day at home by Chicago. You know, they lost to the Magic. I mean, it's like, wow, what's going on there? Celtics, Jason Tatum. If in a world where Jokic didn't exist, and I think he is, and I heard Bill Simmons yesterday, and I kind of thought he was a pussy with Dan Patrick. He said Jokic is a top 12 player, and Dan kind of pushed him, and he kind of backed off, and I thought he was a goddamn pussy. Jokic is definitely a top 12 player of all time. Straight up. I'm saying it. I don't really care. I don't see how you can look at him. There has not been, let's take LeBron out of it. There has not been a more impactful player. I'm going to say he's more impactful than Kobe. Yeah, I know. Kobe got 5 titles. Okay, I get it. I'm not going to argue that. You had Shaq for 3. But Jokic, you start looking at it first, second. You know, I mean, he's going to come in second this year. There's SGA is a great player. He deserves the MVP this year. But Jokic is just a different animal, man. Honestly, the only player I can remember that Jokic reminds me of is Larry Bird. Straight up. And Magic was amazing, but Magic couldn't score in the ways that Larry could or Jokic can. And that guy can do whatever it takes. He can drop 30, he can drop 40, he can get 20 rebounds. I mean, this guy can get out 10 assists. I mean, to me, and you know, I know I'm just in the minority. Larry Bird was the best player ever. I don't really care. You can go ahead and drop it in the comments. Go ahead, do whatever you got to do. Larry Bird was the best player. You can go ahead and say LeBron. You can go say Michael. Maybe you're right. But I've never seen a player who was so excellent at every facet of the game. And when you talk about Michael, he was a scoring machine. He was a defensive machine. But he didn't rebound. He didn't pass. And I get it. I'm not saying he couldn't pass. But his whole thing, and we saw this in The Last Dance, is why should I pass to somebody who's not as good as me? That was never Larry's thing. And then you talk about LeBron. LeBron has the Larry Bird mentality. He is a team first guy. Totally is. I just don't, I know for a fact he wasn't as good at 3-point shots. And the NBA is all about 3-point shooting. And Larry is the one player. Magic wouldn't be as good today as he was in the 80s, okay? Still be a great player. Not saying that. He wouldn't be immortal, right? But Larry'd be better now. Because instead of averaging 3 3-pointers a game, he'd be shooting 10. And that brother'd be shooting 42%. You know, straight up. All right, here's another one. Here's another good one. Anthony Davis, street clothes, return. He said there was no doubt he was going to return. Second time he's played for the Mavericks since that infamous trade. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a block. They beat Brooklyn. Why are they playing him? You blow this guy's knee out and you lose him for next year? I mean, you've already lost Kyrie for next year. I mean, what are you thinking? You're on a season on the brink, but this is called the Nico and Jason Kidd, I got to save my job. That's exactly what they're doing. And literally, I can't even imagine how many hundreds of millions of dollars this franchise has lost in valuation. I mean, Jesus, the Adelson family. Oh my God, I don't know. You must hate Texas. You must hate them. I don't know. Baseball starts on Thursday. My Red Sox take on the Texas Rangers. Brian and I made our picks. I think we both had Texas in the West. We both had Cleveland in the Central. And we had Boston in the East. So, mirror, mirror on the wall. But I'll tell you what, you're going to see a brawl. Ooh, look at that. Look at that symmetry. You're going to see a brawl on Thursday. I can tell you right now. And I respect Brian, but I know we're going to be on opposite sides. And you know what? I like it. You know, Brian and I have disagreed a million times about baseball. And I've always admired he has deep thought on it. You know, I'm a little more impulsive than him, but he really comes from a really smart place. When he says something, there's usually a basis, a foundation to say that, but, you know, whatever. Let's talk about the NCAA tournament and, you know, how the SEC got 7 teams into the final 16. Big Ten, SEC, I mean, they dominated it. You know, you have the outliers like Houston or Duke, but for the most part, this has been an SEC party. They just announced Texas is hiring Sean Miller. UNLV is going to hire Pastner as its head coach. Sean Miller is going to be a really, really good fit. You know, the problem is, and this is what Texas doesn't realize, it is very hard to be great at basketball when you're a football school. And that, you know, you see all the shows and nobody talks about it. Like, really, what is the best university that has a great basketball program and also has a great football program? Maybe Michigan. I mean, that's probably as close as we come. But if you start looking, yeah, and I know Alabama has a really good basketball program. There's some good programs. But when you really talk about the blue bloods, Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, Indiana, UCLA, Arizona, they're basketball schools. They really are. You know, you could sit here and say, oh, we're going to build a culture. At the end of the day, we already know who's going to get what. You know, that's just how it is. It's just how it goes. And you know what? I'm looking for the clicker. All right. If you could, though, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. I appreciate you listening. Leave some comments. Tell me who you like this weekend in the NCAA. Scott will be back on Wednesday. Brian will be back on Thursday. I look forward to seeing them both. I miss them both. And, hey, you go and have a nice taco. Hey, have a margarita too. All right. I'll see you soon.